to this computer. Okay. All right.
Okay. We got it.
So welcome back, everybody, to the Thursday Night Course in Miracles group. I am Chris Green. This is my lovely wife, the Reverend Reja Joy. And on the eve of St. Valentine's Day, and guys, remember, tomorrow is oh shit day. If you forget.
No guilt.
Actually, a good friend of mine called me on Tuesday and they are getting married tomorrow. And they asked if we would stand up for him as witnesses on the.
He's so excited.
I am so excited. He's such a great guy. Yeah. And it's down at the courthouse. And it's just, and I said, are the kids coming? He goes, no, just the four of us. I'm going like, whoa.
The grown kids.
Just the groom kids. Yeah. Yeah. His wife to be lives in Lincoln, Nebraska and has no friends, no family. So. Tonight we are still in chapter 4, the root of all evil, and we're going to read part 6, the ego body illusion, paragraphs 69 through 80. So we got a big reading list tonight. We might be able to get through it, and then we might not. However, that's never been our goal. We read when we're ready, and
You okay?
yeah, the cottage cheese just decided to come back up for a little while. Revisit my mouth. Yuck. If you would like to read tonight, do so somehow. And
Okay, Charles.
Joy will read them off and I will write them down.
Is that you, Reverend Jerry? Are you're going to read? Yeah, going to read. All right. And anybody else? Oh, Paula. She's got her hand up. And Charles in New Mexico. And actually, who else? Oh yeah,
George.
Oh, I didn't think you could do that, Jacob. She put a whole bunch of hands up. How did you do that?
Huh.
Oh. Wow, play chime for raised hands. Oh, play chime for raised hands.
Yeah.
Huh.
I was just trying to put one up.
Oh.
Okay.
And
Huh?
Jude, what were you doing just a few minutes ago?
That was cute. Did you
That
fall
was cute.
You
look like you're on a trampoline.
No, it's an ear. Isn't that an ear? I hear you.
It's an ear. I'm listening.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's listening to me. Yeah. Did you see it?
Oh, no. Oh, yeah, an ear.
Just
Listen.
put
Okay,
up
gotcha.
here, yeah.
Okay.
What?
Nope, I'm not going there. And
Oh,
who else? Paula? Paula, we got Paula now. Oh, yeah.
yeah, I
We
got
got Paula. We got Jacob. We got Charles. We got George. We got Reverend Jerry. We got Charles. We got
And you and me.
and Barbara.
And oh, Barbara. Hi, Barbara.
Did you want to read? Barbara. Wait a minute, she's
Joy.
almost done chewing.
I did not raise my hand because I just got home and I'm munching on my supper. So,
Okay.
Okay. All right.
so I will late.
I put you all the way. I put you all the way at the bottom. So if we get to you and you want to read. Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Paragraph, right?
The perfect paragraph.
Okay. And so,
All right.
Okay.
So now at this time, would you please mute your microphone so we don't get any background noise, dogs, cats, birds, telephones, speeding cars, earthquakes, tornadoes, volcanoes,
oh, rare form tonight.
um, floods, burps. I won't say the other part that the body can make.
Okie doke.
Okay. See, when they're all muted like that, see, I have a what's called a captive audience.
That's right.
All right.
Okay.
Okay. Do your spiel.
Okay. All right. So, okay. So to begin, we'll just close our eyes and go within, if you feel comfortable doing that. How we feel that shift that happens when we do this It's a signal to our body and our mind that we're not going to do anything right now. We're not going to go anywhere. We can just relax and let go. We can just surrender. We can drop all the worries that we've been holding on to. Maybe things of the past or the future. We can let all of that go. Things we did, things we haven't done yet. All of that. We just let it go. Everything. We don't need to hold on to anything. We can just relax. It's okay. It's guilt-free relaxation right now. It's a choice we're making. We came here to be with one another, to close our eyes and to relax and let go. You begin to relax the body as we do this. And the breath follows as the body begins to relax. We might feel the tension being released from our muscles as we let go. We can actually feel them begin to soften and relax. And the breath, we look at the breath, we watch the breath. It's slower. And we might want to watch also our thoughts. There are fewer. All of these combine. When you have a thought, it affects the breath and it affects the body. When you tense up your body, it affects your breath and your thoughts. They're all connected and they're all relaxing right now. Because we keep thinking the same thoughts over and over. They tell us, but for now, we let them go because we're going to reach behind to the loving thoughts of God, our true thoughts. And we also turn to our lesson. While we're in this space of acceptance and relaxation, God is the light in which I see. See being vision. So it tells us in order to see, one must recognize that light is within, not without. You do not see outside yourself, nor is the equipment for seeing outside yourself. An essential part of this equipment is the light that makes seeing possible. It is with you always, making vision possible in every circumstance. God is the light in which I see. We'll take this lesson with us. We're going to spend 2 minutes in silence and I'll time us and I'll bring us out. We'll begin now. is the life in which I see. And when we're ready, we'll open our eyes.
Okay, we're in chapter 4, the root of all evil. We're reading part 6, the ego body illusions, paragraphs 69 through 80. Charles of God, you want to start us off? Paragraph 69. All things work together for good. Oh, let me interrupt you. I think there might be one or two new people on here. If you're on the reading list and I call your name, you read the paragraph I'll tell you the paragraph and what it starts with a little bit. And then after you finish reading, you have first share and you can talk until you indicate I'm complete or
I'm done.
I'm done or
That's it.
something like to that effect. And then if you would use the little Zoom yellow hand to raise your hand if you had a share, that way it stacks on our screen so that we know we call you kind of in the order that you raise your hand. So it helps us just kind of, oh, Mark's here, Rev Mark.
I know.
So it kind of helps us keep the flow going and then nobody nobody we don't get any crosstalk, nobody steps on each other or whatever that's called So it seems like it works every Thursday, like a miracle. A Course in Miracles. It's a miracle that we get through this every night. You know that? Did you watch that baseball game last night?
Chris?
Charles, would you like to read paragraph 69? All things work together, like Joy and I do.
Wait. I'm trying to make this smaller for Paula.
Oh, okay, all right. Doesn't seem like it wants to. Doesn't seem like it. Okay,
Whoops.
and then somehow get that guy over, and then get that guy over.
Okay, I got you. Go ahead. Made it tiny bit smaller. Go ahead.
Okay.
All things work together for good. There are no exceptions, except in the ego's judgment. Control is central factor in what the ego permits into consciousness, and one to which it devotes its maximum vigilance. This is not the way a balanced mind holds together. Its control is unconscious. The ego is further off balance by keeping its primary motivation unconscious and raising control rather than sensible judgment to predominance. The ego has every reason to do this according to the thought system which gave rise to it and which it serves. Sane judgment would inevitably judge against the ego and must be obliterated by the ego in the interest of self-preservation. Wow. It's really like all things work together with no exceptions except for one, the ego's judgment, or its need to control. Ah, that's pretty heavy duty stuff. And it says it's because of its uncertainty, it can't be balanced because, The balanced mind is always, it says control is unconscious. The balance comes from God itself, from God's light, God's love. So, yeah. Keeping primary motivation hidden. And raising control rather than sensible judgment to predominance. Okay. I get the feeling that talking about emotions there. Yeah, we get emotionally charged out of responses rather than coming to a reasonable conclusion. Anyways, I think I'm complete with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles.
Thanks, Charles.
Go ahead, Jude.
I'm muted. Oh, I love the way it's that sane judgment would inevitably judge against the ego and must be obliterated by the ego in the interest of its self-preservation. This just goes, for me, goes to, who do you think is sane, the ego or God? And, when Charles, you said emotions, I thought there's only two, fear or love. And that's why the way that the ego thought system operates out of wanting to control, and it's total unconsciousness of its motivation behind 90% of what it's doing is just totally insane. Thank you. I'm complete.
Thanks, Jude. Thank you. Reverend Mark, go ahead.
I believe the very first sentence is probably the most powerful there, because as we go along in life, we draw to us what we need to learn. And it's saying all things, not just the wonderful things, all things work together for good. And sometimes that's hard to do because the ego says, well, that's not right. And this isn't right. And this person isn't right. And that politician isn't right. And so the ego just keeps doing all that when, in fact, everything's a part of the plan for God and the blueprint. So this is very important. That very first sentence, to me, really is the crux of the whole thing. The ego just judges everything because that's its job, I guess. Anyway, that's just, thank you. I'm complete.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you.
All right, Reverend Jerry. Got all the revs in a row here.
Well, I think the ego, is nailed here. It's a control and a domination freak. That's our thought system, control and dominate, separate, certainly not extend love like God wants. God's will is entirely off base. And, Jeshua is just saying, if you're in your sane mind, sane judgment would rule against all of this separation and conflict and control. Because if I'm trying to control everything, how does all things work together for good? They couldn't. I'm in the way. There's no teamwork, and the ego doesn't want teamwork. It wants me work. So that's. Oh yes, I'm complete.
Oh,
Thanks, honey.
there you go.
Yeah.
Okay, George.
What I was going to say here is it looks like we're being told that primary weapon against the ego is mindfulness, because it's telling us that the control of the balanced mind is unconscious, meaning once that balanced mind comes into consciousness, the ego is basically screwed at that point. Sane judgment must be obliterated by the ego in the interest of its self-preservation. So sane judgment being equated with mindfulness means that mindfulness is going to put the ego into deep caca, I think. And
But-
there, I am complete.
Well, very well put. The ego is caca. I probably couldn't have said that any better. Oh, wait a minute. I didn't say it any better. See. Jacob, did you put your hand down?
No, it just went down.
Oh,
I guess. I don't know. Okay, I guess it seems like everybody knows what all things work together for good, but and I guess it was mentioned that is somebody mentioned something, but I can't remember. But I'm not understanding what that means. All things work together for good. I mean, does anyone have something?
well,
Yeah,
Mark has a,
yeah, Mark, your response was very positive, but I couldn't
Charles of
grasp
New
it.
Mexico.
okay,
Let's
Charles, and then Reverend Mark, or Reverend Mark waved like that. So I don't know which one.
go.
Mm.
Go ahead.
Well, I
ahead,
can
Charles.
clarify for Jake, I can clarify for God's plan is working whether we like it or not.
Mhm,
We're the control freaks.
mhm.
And so we have to trust the process instead of trying to limit it, say it's good, say it's bad, all these things. We just need to trust the process of the plan that it calls God's plan and blueprint for this whole evolution that's happening. So God's plan is going to work anyway, whether we are sitting here going, that's good, that's bad, this is this is that. We can do that, but we suffer from the consequences of our choices and our judgments. That's all.
Okay.
Hope
Okay.
that's cool.
Okay. Charles in New Mexico, go ahead.
Oh, I think I lost my train of thought.
No, say it.
Nah,
That never happens.
That never happened.
Never happens.
go
I don't-
catch
I
that
don't-
train.
What?
I don't want to. I don't want to shine on Reverend Mark's light. I was just going to further dig the question in as a difficult question, and not clarify it for Jacob. In the teacher's manual, in the second section, I forget if trust comes before the section on honesty. In the second section on the characteristics of the teachers of God, there are 6 paragraphs describing stages we go through. And the 6th is horrifying because at the 6th stage, we realize the enormous amount of time involved and how far we have to go. And those 2 pages have bothered me for years. I came back to them recently and got some sense of relief. And the one that bothers me the most, I think, is the 3rd or 4th paragraph where Jesus says it takes tremendous learning to realize that all change is good.
Mm.
I said, well, what do you mean all change is good? And then he says something else. I won't get too deep into it now, but I like that Jesus points out that, we're in chapter 4 at the beginning, and yet I think this is a very important and difficult concept, because how many of us experience that everything is changing for the better? So thank you, Jaika. I won't talk anymore.
Mhm.
Oh, please. When I saw that sentence, what I thought was that the ego is he's a one-man band. Now, he's a one-man band. He doesn't work with anybody. It's my way or the highway. Every other cliche you can come up with that means nobody but me. And so when it says all things work together for good, then that's how I visualize it, as everything else is always going to go towards the good. I mean, the 9 or 10 of us don't get together to hate something. Would we? No, that doesn't sound right, does it?
Right.
I'm so confused. All right, Jude, go ahead. Save me.
You've already been saved.
Oh, you're so
Got to laugh.
happy Valentine's Day.
Understand totality, to understand totality. I think, the idea of the one Son of God is the Christ mind, and that we have to understand that all of creation is involved in this, and understanding that all things work together for good, and that we can't possibly comprehend. That's why we can't possibly judge any of it. But the Course makes a very definitive point of to judge part of it, not to judge any part of it, because then you're losing your awareness of the totality of all of it. You can't think in terms of fragments and understand the totality of the Christ consciousness, which we are. So it's very important to stay out of the little fragmented thought system that comprises the ego's personal point of view versus understanding totally to understand totality.
You've raised your hand.
I raised my hand, yeah. Thanks, Jude. And somebody else mentioned part of what they started to say, what could you not accept if you knew? So I looked it up and it's less than 135. How about it? If I defend myself, I am attacked. But it said, this is that part. Remember, Jacob? It says, and everyone, and me, what could you not accept if you but knew that everything that happens, all events, past, present, and to come, are gently planned by one whose only purpose is your good? Perhaps you have misunderstood his plan, for he would never offer pain to you, but your defenses did not let you see his loving blessing shine in every step you ever took. While you made plans for death, he led you gently to eternal life. It was so beautiful. When I look back and some of the hard parts of my life, and it's like his loving blessing shine in every step. There's a blessing everywhere in every step I take if I but look there. So thanks, I'm done. I'm complete.
That's beautiful. Thank you.
Thanks, hon.
It's lovely. Everyone's responses so lovely.
Thanks, hon.
We're going to ask the judge to marry both of us tomorrow, right? Mike,
Oh, yeah.
Mike and Rosangela and you and I get remarried,
Right.
remarry the remarry,
Mm.
or remarry the very married, or whatever it is.
Okay.
Okay, Reverend Jerry, paragraph 70 starts with a major source.
A major source of the ego's off-balance state is its lack of discrimination between impulses from God and from the body. Any thought system which makes this confusion must be insane. Yet this demented state is essential to the ego, which judges only in terms of threat or non-threat to itself. In one sense, the ego's fear of the idea of God is at least logical, since this idea does dispel the ego. Fear of dissolution from the higher source, then, makes some sense in ego terms, but fear of the body, with which the ego identifies it so closely, is more blatantly senseless. So, the ego is based in fear. I mean, that's synonymous, ego, fear. That was what I think Reverend Reva Joy was saying, that there's only two emotions. So fear is all-consuming, just like love. Perfect love casts out all fear. But if you're making that decision for the wrong mind, for ego and for fear, then you're going to be afraid of the body and its decrepitude eventually, or all the time. And you're also going to be afraid of God's eternal love, which it confuses with a threat to the ego. And so there's nothing that the ego accepts as good. It's all bad. It's all to be avoided. It's all to be in some way suppressed. Don't look in the mind. Because when you look in the mind, the ego says, you're going to see nothing but fear and death, which is its own stock in trade. But it assigns it to the workings of the God mind.
Mm.
It says you don't want to look in there. God has judged you and determined that you're sinful and that you are deserving of judgment and of hell. So it's got everything backwards, and it puts us in a state of off balance, disharmony.
Hmm.
And that's it, kids.
Thank
Love it or leave it.
thank you.
Wait a minute, that sounds like Porky Pig. The D&D,
That's all.
D&D,
That's
That's all.
folks. That's all, folks. Go ahead,
That's
Jude.
it.
Once again, you got to save me again.
This I really speaks to level confusion. That the authority problem, the ego, body, world, quote unquote dream, fantasy, mistaken our self appraisal versus how God created us, that we're purely mind and spirit in the service of the spirit. In truth, we're only love. And, so this is what makes us so insane. We really believe and think that we're something we're not, and identify with the body as being our home, being temporal in space and mortal. And, it's totally fear based. And it's constant threat. And whenever I see that word threat, I just think of the introduction to the Course in Miracles, where it says nothing real can be threatened, which we all know. Thank you. I'm complete.
Thank you, Jude.
Thanks, Jude.
Mark, go ahead.
I just wanted to say I love what Jerry said, and I think when he said disharmony, what I heard was dis-ease, which is exactly what the ego loves, is dis-ease, disease. So thanks, Jerry.
Mhm.
Cool.
Yeah.
Charles of God.
Yes, good day, good day, good day. I wish I had something better to say, but at this present moment, all things work together for good, right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Nothing's ever gone wrong, right?
On the eve of Valentine's Day, we should all share that rhymes, right?
Right.
The red, violets are blue.
We speak as an ego as if it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Yet it's not a mistake. It's darkness is not an error, but darkness is that which brings forth light. I read in the lesson today, in the first paragraph of our lesson, we can make darkness and believe in the darkness we make.
Mhm.
And I thought that's very unusual. I mean, God created us as beings of light, right? No, he created us as aware beings, aware of light. We're also aware of darkness. We're also aware of uncertainty. So we're aware, and as we call for the light of God's love, we give witness to the wonderfulness that it brings forth into the uncertainty. We give witness to the certainty that comes because of the uncertainty. We see the light within the darkness. I don't think the ego is a mistake, nor is darkness a mistake. But I think we give the ego credit for which we don't realize that it is that which we made. We made the ego. We made up the idea there's such thing as fear. Only to realize that without God's love, we're lost. We're lost within this world of uncertainty until we call on the name of God.
Mm.
And calling on the name of God is calling on that which created us as aware beings. I've always struggled with the idea that the light has come. where it comes, if I am awareness itself, pure awareness, I am aware of light, but I'm also aware of darkness. I am aware of love with limit, yet I'm aware of love with limits. So as an aware being, and this is all made up, and this is all part of creation itself, how does this all work into play? Because forgiveness is really, for me, is understanding my function in the idea of forgiveness. Why is my function of forgiveness important? To realize nothing can be threatened. Nothing can block the awareness of love's presence. So I don't worry about creating darkness anymore. Don't worry about speaking my mind anymore, or speaking how fearful I am, knowing that God's love will give comfort and create a greater awareness that brings greater certainty. To me, there's more to this darkness and uncertainty and ego. For me to say something went wrong is to say God made a mistake, and I don't think God makes mistakes. So anyways, all things work together for good. Thank you. That's where I'm at the moment. Thank you.
Thanks.
Joy,
Thank you,
Alicia?
Charles. I do.
Oh, okay.
And it's the idea of embracing everything. I mean, loving everything, even everything, the darkness, the errors, right? The mistakes, everything. Because when you come from love, it's like and I think Carlos, Charlie, New Mexico, we talked about expanding large enough to embrace, everything, the evil, everything, the darkness of it, because it's all us anyway. It's not right. It's not outside of us. There is only mind, you within it, and it within you. It's not out there, but we are creators. That's what God created, a creator. We're co-creators. We have the ability to create, and we can make the darkness and then get afraid. Right? And then you forget to laugh. You made this world and forgot to laugh. It's like, I watch TV and I go, humans, oh my God.
Oh, wait a minute. I'm a human. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm in a human body too, but oh my God, are you kidding me? But the thing is, we all, we made it, forgot to laugh. The thing is, when you embrace everything, when you expand large enough to embrace it all, it just changes everything. It really does. What are you going to say, Charles?
We keep.
It says, we do not create light. Light, God creates light. And as we call for that light, it flows through us and we co-create with God's love. We ourselves make darkness, but we do not create light. For light is what we are, and God created us. Light.
Light is what we are.
Yeah, but we did not create light.
And God created us.
Yes, but
we didn't create
it's God's light. It's God's light that we allow to create through us.
And He don't make no junk.
A lot of people say, I am God, so whatever I create light. But we make darkness, and I think that function of making darkness is a big part of God's creation. And so that's what when I read that today, it sort of threw me for a loop and sort of threw me down a rabbit hole, because I thought I created light, and I realized, no, I make darkness and God creates light, because He created me in His light. And He created everything around me in His light. And for me to take His role is trying to usurp Him as being a creator. I co-create with God. I co-create with my brothers and sisters. And God gets the glory for all of the wonderfulness that comes to us, All glory and all power is His. So, anyways, it's just something that's thrown me down a rabbit hole, but thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Charles.
Hey, Charles in New Mexico, can you hold on a second.
Just, oh yeah,
Jacob, you keep going back and forth. Is there,
I know. This week the hand keeps going away.
what is it with you?
I don't know why.
All
I
right,
don't know why.
raise your right hand.
Jacob, do you remember what you were going to
Oh, okay. Oh, see, it just went away. What'd you say?
All right, okay.
Jacob, do you remember what you were going to say?
Yeah, yeah, but I got increasingly more confused. What I have been meditating on is seeing myself as divine loving consciousness. And that divine loving consciousness is just pure love. And it doesn't have any actions. It doesn't do or push away or pull to it. It just is. It just sits in me as this loving consciousness. And it's very hard to get through my conditioning because things rise up all day long. And and they rise up and I go, oh, wow. And it's helping. Actually, that part is helping me because I say, wow, that's ego. You know, when someone says something and you can feel like, it just hit something. Well, you know what it hit? It hit the ego. And the ego saying, oh my God, you have every right to be pissed right now, you know? And I'm like, yeah, that would work if I existed. But the truth is, that's not me. I'm pure light. I am divine, loving, this consciousness that is seeing this whole show and not reacting to it. It's just taking it all in, that kind of thing. So I did lose a couple trains while I was waiting, but I grasped on that one and I thought I would share that.
Oh, great.
That's
Okay,
good.
honey. Oh, sorry.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm complete.
Okay, Charles in New Mexico, you still there?
yeah, I am, and I've got to be careful. It's could be construed as well. I can say I'm having a response, a reaction to Charles of God, and what I had the course up on my screen, and if you're probably familiar with the Course in Miracle website that Reja runs. If you can enter search terms into the book, and it will give you every page the sentence, and the word mistake came to mind. So it's just a difference of words. I think the book would back me on this one. If you entered the word mistake, I need my ego to be an ancient mistake. That's important for me. And God stopped. And the other one is I was created as light. So I'm just having conflict with everything that was shared and not wanting to. That's all. Thank you.
Yep. Okay. Reverend Mark, go ahead.
The hardest thing that I have with this course is the statement, I need do nothing. And I like what Jacob just said, because see, we want to do everything every time anything comes up that doesn't match our system. That's the ego. So we are just doaholics. And I find that one of the things that I keep thinking is that the very premise of the course is to remove the blocks to the presence of God's love. And the blocks to me are my trying to do something about it all the time. So I'm always trying to help God. Okay, I can help you with this, right? And all I do is get in the way. But I just wanted to say that I really appreciate what Jacob said, because, it's hard not to react. I need do nothing when somebody's standing in front of you that has said something absolutely insulting to you. I need do nothing. But ultimately we will go, what do you mean by that? See, that's the ego. So we're always in reaction. But I like what Charles said of Charles of God, because, the plan is there all the time. It's just what we decide we want to do with it. And so I don't want to do anything with it. I just want to observe it. But it's not easy, because it's a simple thought, but it's not easy to do. Anyway, thanks.
Cool. That's cool.
And you know what Joy said before is there really isn't anything else going on but us, really. Us
That's
as the divine. And if you're pissed at that person, it doesn't work. That's you. their divine loving consciousness is a little awkward at the moment. I mean, it's there, it's inside, right? But
Yep.
the circus that's around it temporarily is just not letting it shine. And, it's just when you start melding, I think, and I hope this is the truth that I want to latch onto, is when you start melding into understanding that it's not us and them. This is a whole big fishbowl of me. And you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
there's nobody else here. It's just this divine consciousness using a body and mind to experience it.
Yeah.
And there's 8 billion consciousnesses doing the same thing. And it's not easy, but it is working because I'm disconnecting from when I have ill ease, when I have something that hurts my heart. I know I'm not seeing it. I'm not seeing what's there, I'm just not seeing it correctly. And you don't have to do anything. You can just pause and calm down the body, the ego reaction. Just there, calm down. There's really nothing. This is not what you think it is. It's a trip. It's a trip. I feel like I'm starting to enjoy it at times. Just starting to enjoy it sometimes. Anyway, I digress.
Thank you.
That's pretty good. So what you have to do, Jacob, is take your fishbowl and pour it in another fishbowl, and you go in with that water, and then those 2 fish go into another fish. Then we'll all be in the same pool together.
Oh, we are.
Oh, we
We
are.
already are.
Oh, we are. Okay.
Hi, my fellow fishes.
All right. Like you said, as I digress. Okay, Paula, can you read paragraph 71? Starts with the body is the ego's home.
Body is the ego's home by its own election. It is the only identification with which the ego feels safe, because the body's vulnerability is its own best argument that you cannot be of God. This is the belief that the ego sponsors eagerly. Yet the ego hates the body because it does not accept the idea that the body is good enough to be its home. Here is where the mind becomes actually dazed, being told by the ego that it is really part of the body and that the body is its protector. Mind is also constantly informed that the body cannot protect it. This, of course, is not only accurate, but perfectly obvious. The body is the ego's home by its own election. For some reason tonight, I'm just not making the connection. I don't get it. Its only identification with which the ego feels safe. The body is the ego's home by its own election. It is the only identification with which the ego feels safe because the body's vulnerability is its own best argument that you cannot be of God. Yeah, and that's just, we're constantly having to face that. And that's why I try to keep everything pretty simple. And just in these situations, I was in a situation the other day where I was absolutely insulted. This person insulted me. And I thought, for me, it comes down to, I can choose to ruin the rest of my day with this. I can walk out of here and take her with me and ruin my day. Why would I do that? Why would I do it?
No point.
I don't feel good. I don't need that. And that's her opinion. It was her opinion. She thinks I should be, she obviously needs a man. She could not understand why I'm not remarried and why I haven't dated in the past 20 years since my husband died. Well, that's my business. That's not her business. So why do I need to, I don't need to do anything with that. I'm happy with my life the way it is. So there you go. I have time to paint all day long, as much as I want. I love it. I don't even have a cat anymore because I don't want that distraction. Yeah, I may weaken. May weaken to the cat. We'll see.
Yeah, yeah.
That's to be continued.
Oh,
There's actually a 15-year-old cat at the shelter right now that needs a home. And I'm like, oh, God, help me.
Mm.
So I'm talking to Jesus about that. He's
Yeah.
going to help me make the decision because I'm not making it on my own.
Yes. Get that cat.
Okay, Reverend Jerry. Oh, and Paula, you don't need a man. They're more maintenance than a cat.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'll try to remember that.
Okay, I already forgot who I called on.
Yeah, you called on me. That's okay.
Oh, go
You-
ahead, Reverend Jerry.
Yeah, this is the perfect paragraph concerning the ego's double talk. On the one hand, the ego looked for a home when we forgot to laugh at the separation idea, and the home that it found was the body, consistent with sin, guilt, and fear. It was a perfect abode. That we look at the body as sinful. We have a lot of guilt around the body and reproductive so forth. So it works in that sense for the ego. Here's the home. And it also works for the ego because it identifies you as separate from all the other 8 billion bodies on the planet. So check, check, check. But on the other hand, and that's always the ego's mantra, but on the other hand, see, nothing works together for good. On the other hand, the body isn't good enough because it's mortal. It doesn't, and the ego is frightened of its mortality. It's unlike God, which is immortal. The ego is so afraid of death and dying and impermanence and so forth. So there's a lovely idea: seek but do not find. And if you want to look in the directory for seek but don't find, you'll see the ego's picture. That'll give you, it's like the GPS in reverse. You want to go somewhere, check with the ego, and you won't get there. So it's just not going to work. And it does lead to, let's gently laugh at it. Somebody brought that up earlier. It's a good idea because it is so comical. It really is, and I'm taking this clown seriously. These thoughts, they estimate 60,000 thoughts a day, and they're all the same repetitively over and over. And I keep entertaining them as serious. And I'm going to take a hint from Paula. I'm not going to entertain any thoughts that Jesus doesn't in some way indicate a green light on. If I think it's good, it's an old Seinfeld thing too. Do you remember there was an episode where George says, "Things have been so bad in my life. I've decided that whatever I think I'm going to do, I'm going to wind up doing the opposite because up until now, it just doesn't work. So I'm just going to do the opposite." And you could take that to the bank. If the ego tells you to do it, don't. Hey, I have to say something, and this is all in good spirits. George Speckart, right?
Yep.
Can you see your picture on the gallery? What do you
Yes.
see behind you?
Blur.
Oh, it's a blur. It
Yeah, it's
looks like a.
intentionally blurred.
Oh, you blurred something.
Yeah, there's a setting on the
Oh, I
visual.
see it now.
Yeah.
It looked to me, George, like a dark cloud with a
Yeah.
tornado
No, it's a
coming
UFO
down from
cloud.
it. Pardon me?
Oh,
See if I can. Let's see if
And
I
I
can
thought I was seeing
unblur it.
auras, and I thought, oh my God, I can read George's mind. It's a dark.
Oh,
Oh, it's a
wow.
UFO clock. Oh, for crying. Oh,
Great clock.
that's a cute clock.
yeah.
It is.
My wife
Yeah,
is,
thank
has
you,
all.
George. That is distracting.
That's why it's
Charles,
on blur.
what?
Well, let's call
But
it
yeah,
Halo. Well, let's call it a
my
Halo.
wa-
George
my
has
house
a
is full of all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I should take you on
Yeah.
a tour one day.
All right.
Blur works.
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Go ahead, George.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is so close to what Jerry said, I almost should give up my spot here. But I just would add that, and like any criminal, you know, their plot has some kind of flaw in it somewhere, and the ego's plots are always can never be subject, can never stand up to scrutiny. I mean, they're always flawed somewhere, and the ego's investment of the body is sort of the ultimate flaw. If you examine it closely, because you know the ego, the body just dissipates, and then where does that leave the ego? You know, so that's all I was going to say.
Cool.
Great.
That's cool.
Mhm.
Reverend Mark, go ahead.
The funny thing with the ego is that the ego always has this idea of death thoughts, like you're going to die. You could be fearful of this, do this and that. And I just talked to my ego and I said, you know, you need to stop giving me those death thoughts, because if I do die and when I do die, you don't exist. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, I'm your best friend. I don't mean to do that. And I didn't mean those thoughts. I thought really interesting how it's just totally back and forth all the time. So now, now it's like, oh, I didn't mean any of those thoughts. I was just trying to protect you. And I go, what are you protecting me from, God? You don't need to protect me. There's nothing to protect me from. Anyway, just thought it's
Let's see. Okay, go ahead, Charles.
Oops.
I've
I
got
just wanted to respond to Jerry. Says I'm going to tell my ego from now on, there's no such thing as reincarnation. So this is it. This is the only body you're ever going to get into. Thanks, Jerry.
like George Carlin says, you mean they're printing souls? Love that guy. Boy, he had so many routines on death, and then he died.
Oh yeah,
Mm.
he was
Wow.
Well, okay, all right.
There
Then
was
he
no
did.
death. That's
Then he had so many jokes on death, and then he didn't die.
Right.
Okay, all right.
That's right.
Okay. Oh, okay. Let's go on to paragraph 72. Charles of New Mexico, can you read for us? It starts with therefore the mind.
Therefore, the mind asks, where can I go for protection? To which the ego replies, I love these two paragraphs, by the way. It's central and key to the whole discussion. Therefore, the mind asks, where can I go for protection? To which the ego replies, turn to me. The mind, and not without cause, reminds the ego that it has itself insisted that it is identified with the body, so there's no point in turning to it for protection. The ego has no real answer to this because there is none, but it does have a typical solution. It obliterates the question from the mind's awareness. Once unconscious, the question can and does produce uneasiness, but it cannot be answered because it cannot be asked. This is the question which must be asked. Where am I to go for protection, safety? Even the insane ask it unconsciously, but it requires real sanity to ask it consciously. Ooh. The mind becomes actually dazed at this mystification that the ego offers in the face of its duplicity, its contradiction. These two truths are paradox. They can't both be. And so there's all kinds of mysticism in the Far East and the West and theosophy that I think the ego loves. And right here, and here is Alice Bailey in 2 paragraphs. She was a real waste of my time, but I'm glad I read Alice. Where can I go for safety? Boy, ain't that something? We're all talking about the ego like we're not talking through it. I'm sorry, I'm a bit of a dick.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this comes up for me a lot. There are things inside of me that I am unaware of, and even trying to get aware of them. The book and experience out there teaches me that I'm unaware of certain things. Like someone was talking early, Jaika, about the and the reverend and the lady about if things out there are intruding on me. And the hardest part is to say, well, why did I ask for this experience? Because I did. Boy, that's difficult. And it's coming. There's something unconscious in me that can't be asked, can't be looked at, especially that anger at myself. And so I'm always seeing threat on the outside. And to ask these questions, I've been looking at this a lot, this fundamental confusion that I think that even for me to consciously look for my ego, I've been deep in chapter 4 and 3 this week. My ego cannot distinguish. He says it more harshly earlier. It cannot tell the difference between soul impulses and body appetites. But I can. This is Jesus speaking. So allow me into your unconscious to teach you the difference between truth and illusion. So I've been in some dire emotions for a few days, fear and not a lot of anger. And just praying to Jesus. Well, just do that. I'll see you in the morning, and I'll end here. It be done. A lot of my clarity, if not always, is often first thing upon awakening. And when he says in the workbook, do this first thing, and there's so many religions and programs that say that. I've really gotten into that. I have a whole bed. I call it my day bed. I get out of I'm in one room here, out of my sleep bed. And I don't always remember my dreams, and that might be the side effect of 40 years of marijuana. But they happen. They're happening. And there have been mornings where I can't ignore that dream. And so I've really been practicing for about 4 or 5 years now. That first thing in the morning, someone has been in my room at night helping me. And in that unconscious place, anyway, the impulses that come from the ego and the impulses that come from God, and I can't tell the difference. And when I'm aware of that and go looking for it, I can't tell the difference. Boy, that's a punch in the face for my arrogance. I'm complete. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you.
Thank you.
Paula, go ahead.
It was Reverend Mark. Oh, okay.
Oh, how did
I don't know. They got switched around, but
you got switched around? Is it timing out or something? Or
who do you want? Just
Paula, go ahead.
and then Reverend Mark.
Yeah.
I just wanted to make a request. If you would, when we're not reading, can you take the text
I
down?
saw your chat message and I forgot. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I forgot.
All right. Thank you.
Okay.
Reverend Mark, the last time you were sharing, in fact, when that paragraph was read, it's kind of funny how things pop into your head, but I remember the movie Catch-22, where Yossarian didn't want to fly anymore, and all he had to tell the psychiatrist was that he was crazy. But the psychiatrist told him if you say you're crazy, you're not crazy. But I'll tell you this, you're crazy if you fly. So Yossarian goes, I'm crazy. And the psychiatrist will say, well, if you say you're crazy, you're not crazy. But I'll tell you this, if you're flying, you're crazy. And so then Yossarian would say, so all I have to do is say, I'm crazy and I can't fly. And the psychiatrist said, well, yeah, but if you tell me you're crazy, you're not crazy. So you see where this is
Yeah.
that whole movie kind of drives home what we're talking about
Mm.
is I mean it's like what Reverend Mark said and Jacob, we're all coming to the same conclusion
Mm.
that
We're crazy.
yeah, I can't say it because if I say I'm crazy, I'm not crazy. All right.
The Jacob.
So once again, Reverend Mark, can you save me? Because
I don't think I can save you. I swear.
well, now
I
Jude always tells me I'm already saved. Come on.
that was like a thought pattern. I went, where is he going? anyway, 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 I just wanted to say that what happens is I think that all of us, at least me, I have to pause when I'm getting something like what Paula said. I love her share because there are people that want to tell you that you need approval, and you've got to follow this pattern. And I just laugh in their face because I'm like, pause. Why am I even listening to this person? And then I thought the other thing is that I always ask myself, Holy Spirit, what is this for? What is this for? I'm looking at somebody else's opinion of me, and I can accept it, or I can just go, that's her opinion, So the other thing that I think is good is how that paragraph says, where do we need to go for protection? And the ego says, turn to me. And I thought, wait a minute, you're the one that's threatening me. Why would I go to you for protection when you're the one that gives me the thoughts about I've got to die or I'm going to, I'm like, that's sheer insanity to go to turn to the ego for protection when it doesn't, that's the very thing that gives us the fear. Anyway, I just want to say it sure is amusing. This is a wonderful group. It's just funny. It's very amusing. But anyway, thanks.
Well, that when I put it together, Mark, years and years and years ago, that was part of my mission, was to make sure that we took time to laugh at ourselves. Reverend Jerry, you get the last share, and then we're going to close with a prayer.
Oh, okay. Well, what I wanted to share is kind of reiterating what Reverend Mark just commented about the great question. Jeshua is so wonderful at giving us questions that are not egoic. Most questions are egoic and answer themselves in confusion. Seek but don't find the answer. But this question, where would I go for protection, is so wonderful because there are only two choices, a right mind and a wrong mind. I've already checked with the wrong mind, the fear and the ego, and we know that that's a strikeout. So now, where would I go for protection? The Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit knows what I need, knows what everybody else needs, knows the entirety of the past, knows the future. Why would I not go to the? I'm thinking of Johnny Carson in the Tonight Show. He used to do Karnak, the all-knowing, and he used to have a big turban on, and he knew all the answers. And then he'd open the envelope, and he would give the question, of course, but he'd already given the answer. So that's the wonderfulness of it. And I think Charles in New Mexico alluded to it as well. You've got a 50-50 shot here. You already struck out with the ego. Go for the Holy Spirit. It's going to answer your question inevitably, correctly, and it can be instantaneous. There's no delay. It really is if I'm listening, if I'm truly open and listening, the answer comes immediately. And the reason that it comes immediately is because I'm one with the Holy Spirit and I'm one with the Father who created the Holy Spirit as my teacher. Anyway, thanks everybody, and
All right.
see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank-
Thank you, Reverend Jerry.
Thank you.
Thanks everybody for your sharing.
Slowly.
So at this time, we would ask that we virtually hold hands, and Joy is going to lead us in final prayer.
Yep. So we imagine that we'll close our eyes and imagine that we're holding one another's hand in a circle. And we feel that connection that we have with one another because we share that one self with each other and with our source. And it's a wonderful feeling of unity and communion. And from that place, we listen to a short poem by Helen, and it's called Benediction. Oh, it's very interesting. Angels are thoughts that come from God to you. Secure in their protection, may you rest. Quiet in certainty that comes from them, at peace in mind and heart and holiness, unmindful of the world and sure that they are with you, watching over you, and fixed in their determination to maintain your mind at rest within the peace of God. And so it is.
That was nice.
That's
Thank you.
lovely.
That was
Angels
nice.
are thoughts.
Angels are thoughts.
Never thought of it that way.
Where did that come from?
Oh, that's it's The Gifts of God.
Yeah.
It's a real nice cloth book.
Oh, I
See,
have it. But what's the which poem is it?
oh, it's right in the beginning, very beginning. It's called Benediction, and it's
Okay.
actually the second poem up in the early poems area.
I
Okay.
can find it. Yeah, that's an
Second
amazing
one.
book. Amazing book.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you for coming
Thank
tonight.
you.
It's great.
Namaste.
We appreciate you.
Namaste.
Namaste.
We love you all.
Namaste.
Happy Valentine's
Happy
Day.
Valentine's Day.
Namaste. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Okay. Bye. Okay.
Good night, everybody.
Hey, Cupid, strike
All
you.
right.
But okay. All right.
Bye.
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 Bye. Bye.